You're watching Global 10 News, bringing you today's top global stories.
Mali and Burkina Faso have announced a retaliatory travel ban on United States nationals, escalating tensions between the West African nations and Washington. The decision comes after the U.S. recently expanded its own travel restrictions, citing national security and immigration vetting concerns, a move that included citizens from Mali and Burkina Faso. In response, the governments of both countries said they were applying the principle of reciprocity, meaning any country that restricts their citizens should expect the same treatment. The ban prevents U.S. passport holders from entering Mali and Burkina Faso under current rules, impacting travel, diplomacy, and business ties. Both nations are currently led by military governments and have increasingly distanced themselves from Western influence, particularly the United States and France. Analysts say the move highlights how travel bans can quickly turn into diplomatic standoffs, further straining already fragile international relationships. The situation remains fluid, and officials on both sides have not indicated when or if the restrictions might be lifted.
In Houston, Texas, authorities have now recovered at least 34 bodies from bayous and nearby waterways this year, a figure that nearly matches last year's total and has fueled widespread public concern and intense social media speculation about whether a serial killer could be operating in the area. Law enforcement officials, along with the Harris County District Attorney's Office, say there is currently no evidence connecting the deaths to a single individual and stress that the cases span different locations, timelines, and circumstances. Investigators point to a combination of factors, including homelessness, mental health crises, substance abuse, accidental drownings, and the inherent dangers of Houston's vast bayou system, as likely contributors to many of the recoveries. Authorities also confirm that a significant number of cases remain under investigation, with some deaths still classified as undetermined while forensic and toxicology reports are completed. Police continue to examine each case separately and have urged the public to rely on confirmed information rather than speculation as investigations move forward. The Trump administration has moved to freeze or delay certain federal child care funding programs, according to state officials and advocacy groups, raising concerns about access to affordable child care for low-income families across the United States. The action is tied to a broader review of federal spending priorities, with the administration saying it wants to reassess how funds are distributed and whether programs align with its policy goals. Several states have warned that the pause could disrupt payments to child care providers, potentially leading to higher costs for parents or reduced services, particularly for working families who rely on subsidies. Supporters of the move argue that the review is necessary to curb waste and improve oversight, while critics say even temporary funding freezes could strain an already fragile child care system. Officials have not given a clear timeline on when the funds will be released, leaving states and providers uncertain about next steps. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, commonly known as INAP, is facing renewed debate after federal officials signaled support for restricting the use of benefits on items like candy and sugary sodas, a move aimed at improving public health outcomes among low-income families. While a nationwide ban has not yet been fully implemented, several states have pushed for waivers or policy changes that would prevent INSNAP funds from being used to purchase products with little nutritional value. Supporters argue the change could help reduce obesity, diabetes, and diet-related illnesses, especially among children, while critics warn it could limit consumer choice and place additional burdens on families who already struggle with food access. The proposal has sparked political and industry pushback, and federal authorities say discussions are ongoing, with no final nationwide decision announced so far. Israel has announced plans to suspend the operations of several international aid groups in Gaza, citing security concerns, a move that has triggered strong warnings from multiple countries and humanitarian organizations about a renewed catastrophic crisis in the region. Aid agencies say the suspensions could severely disrupt the delivery of food, medical supplies, and emergency assistance to civilians already facing extreme shortages after months of conflict. Israeli officials argue that tighter controls are necessary to prevent aid from being misused, while international partners stress that limiting humanitarian access risks worsening hunger, disease, and displacement. Several governments have urged Israel to reconsider the decision, warning that further restrictions could push Gaza's humanitarian situation beyond a breaking point. as talks continue with no clear indication of when or if aid operations might fully resume. Warren Buffett has marked his final day as chief executive of Berkshire Hathaway, closing an era that reshaped global investing and corporate leadership. After decades at the helm, Buffett is handing over day-to-day leadership while remaining involved in an advisory role, as the company transitions to a new generation of management. Known as the Oracle of Omaha, Buffett built Berkshire Hathaway into one of the world's most valuable companies through long-term investing, disciplined decision-making, and a focus on fundamentals rather than market hype. Investors and business leaders worldwide have praised his influence, crediting him with changing how value investing is understood and practiced. Berkshire Hathaway said the leadership change is part of a long-planned succession strategy, aiming to ensure stability as the company moves forward beyond Buffett's historic tenure. New data released by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention shows a continued rise in flu cases across the United States, with health officials warning that seasonal influenza activity remains elevated in multiple regions. According to the CDC, outpatient visits for flu-like illness have increased, and hospitalizations related to influenza are placing added pressure on healthcare systems, particularly among older adults and young children. Officials say the dominant strains this season are contributing to more severe symptoms in some patients, though vaccination continues to offer strong protection against serious illness and death. The CDC is urging the public to get vaccinated if they have not already done so. Practice good hygiene and stay home when sick to slow the spread. Health experts caution that flu activity could remain high in the coming weeks, making prevention efforts critical as winter continues. Pope Francis personally set aside funds under his control to help purchase ambulances for Ukraine, according to a Catholic nun familiar with the effort, highlighting the pontiff's direct involvement in humanitarian support during the war. The nun said the money was not part of official Vatican programs but came from funds the Pope could personally allocate, with the aim of providing emergency medical vehicles to help transport wounded civilians in conflict zones. Vatican officials have not disputed the account, and the move aligns with Pope Francis's repeated calls for peace and assistance to those suffering from the fighting. Humanitarian groups say ambulances remain critically needed as attacks continue to strain Ukraine's medical system, while the Vatican has emphasized that its focus remains on relief and aid rather than political involvement in the conflict. The U.S. Department of Justice has confirmed it is reviewing and managing an estimated 5.2 million pages of records connected to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, underscoring the massive scale of one of the most scrutinized cases in recent U.S. history. Officials say the files include court records, investigative materials, and evidence gathered over multiple years, much of which remains sealed or restricted due to privacy concerns and ongoing legal considerations. The DOJ has emphasized that any release of information must comply with federal law, protect victims, and avoid compromising related cases. The sheer volume of documents has fueled public interest and speculation about what the records may contain. But authorities stress that processing and reviewing millions of pages is a slow and complex task, with no clear timeline for additional disclosures. The U.S. job market is showing signs of cooling but remains relatively resilient, according to recent economic data and labor market indicators. Employers continue to add jobs at a slower pace compared to previous years, while unemployment remains near historically low levels, suggesting that hiring demand is easing without a sharp downturn. Wage growth has also moderated, offering some relief on inflation pressures, even as workers face higher living costs. Economists say the slowdown reflects the impact of higher interest rates, which have made businesses more cautious about expansion and hiring. At the same time, sectors like healthcare, government, and services continue to see steady job gains, while technology and manufacturing have shown more uneven trends. Analysts note that the labor market's direction will play a key role in future policy decisions, as officials weigh economic growth against inflation risks in the months ahead. And that's a wrap on the top 10 news stories for today, all in just 10 minutes. We've covered the biggest headlines from around the globe to keep you informed and ahead of the curve. It's so important to stay updated, and we're here to make that easy for you. If you found this quick rundown helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We bring you fresh, concise news updates every single day, so you'll never miss a beat. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, staying informed is staying ahead. We'll see you back here tomorrow for another daily briefing. Have a great day.